I'm ready.
Something remarkable is happening at Werneth School in Stockport.
All the students in school drop everything and read for 20 minutes.
It's all about reading, and it's also about improving results.
And while they're reading, we run around taking photos.
My dad's a doctor, my mum's a dentist. Two major nerds who fell in love during their hibernations at Monash University Medical Library. They were both born in Bethlehem, are about 52 years.
Now this is PE in the sports hall. Our students here is playing badminton today, but they've dropped everything to read for 20 minutes.
In fact, familiar then, but never know where it started.
Right, our 20 minutes of drop everything and read is now up, so Sally and I are going to be meeting this afternoon, period 4, and during that meeting we'll start looking at the footage and put it together for our summer challenge. So how did you think drop everything and read went this morning then?
I think it went well actually. From what I saw, when I went round, I managed to get lots of different departments. I've got maths, got the admin staff in the office, RE, geography. I think I've got some great footage, so all we need to do now is try to edit that in with maybe children on their bikes, some of their heroes on bikes, and then that will work for our summer challenge with the bike racing.
Great. We do get some of our more discerning students who now will see me coming with a camera and say, please miss, you've got to get a photo of me. I really want to be seen reading with a book. And that's totally changed. When we first came here, the attitude towards being taken, having a picture taken with a book was the opposite. People just didn't want to be seen with books. They thought it was geeky, it was something that wasn't the thing to be caught doing, and that's totally changed now.
Drop Everything and Read is just one initiative which is aimed at changing attitudes like this.
I can read when I need to read, but I choose not to read. If I had the choice between a DVD or watching something to learn about something for an essay and reading a massive book, I'd rather watch a DVD because it's easier.
We often hear kids saying, I don't like reading. I don't subscribe to that view for any one child. That's zero tolerance of that view, really. What they really mean is, I don't like what I've read yet. So it's about finding that spark for each and every individual and personalising their own diet of reading and literacy to make sure that we set them all on fire. And I think to a large extent we've done it.
I never used to like reading much, but I just read a book and I found that I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. Reading's one of the key qualities that you need during life, isn't it? So I thought that I might as well just get a move on and learn how to read a bit.
Our results on the 5A Star to C measure have gone from 34% to 62%, so we've almost doubled in 3 years. But that's because actually learning and literacy through learning have been one of the major focuses for our development.
Librarian Nikki Heath is the driving force behind many of the reading initiatives in school. It's also her idea to recruit pupil librarians.
We have around 80 students on our waiting list for our pupil librarians at the minute. I have 10 student librarians who come and work in my office 5 times over the fortnight at lunchtimes and then twice in break times. I've got a very, very quick agenda here myself of some of the issues that I've got with you, but I'm sure...
The pupil librarians help to run the library system, checking books in and out. But more importantly, their participation helps to get other pupils involved in reading.
I'm creating a customer service questionnaire about the library to see what people think of it when they come in and everything to do.
Is that what we talked about in the meeting yesterday?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
I love being a pupil librarian. I wanted to be one since I got here because I just wanted to help people with the reading and recommend books to them.
The library also doubles as a classroom when English lessons, these for Year 7 pupils, are relocated there once a week.
So today's lesson is reading for pleasure, so you can go and choose anything you want, whether it's a fiction book, a non-fiction book, magazine, local newspaper, or the daily newspapers. We don't mind what you read, but what we'd like you to do now is just go and find something to read, come back to your seat, sit down and enjoy.
Would you wear them?
No, they wouldn't.
Would you rather review with that then? No.
We dedicate one of our English lessons to library skills, and part of it is reading to encourage them to read all the time. We read within English lessons and as starters in English lessons as well, but to get it throughout the school and for the children to have a reading culture, Nikki is absolutely fantastic and dedicates a lot of the time in library lessons so they can actually sit, read and enjoy things. We find particularly with the boys that it encourages them to read so that they're not just reading in English lessons. I think moving away from the traditional they must read a novel has been quite important as well. They mustn't necessarily read a novel. Start them off with a comic, start them off with a magazine, give them a newspaper, and then you'll grasp their attention and then they'll want to read.
I'm reading a comic because quite interesting and there's pictures so you can see what they're doing if you don't get the speech.
It's good that you can just read whatever you want in your school. I wouldn't usually sit down and get a book out and read in front of people because I found it embarrassing, but now that everyone else is doing it, it's not really a problem.
Most of the time, the only time I get to read is when it's my lesson. It's just nice to be able to sit down, read and not be disturbed in lesson time.
It is about finding what level of reading makes you feel comfortable. A lot of kids underachieve because they misbehave, because they're not comfortable with whatever resource it is that they've been put in front of them. It's about building the confidence of those children and those small chunks to be completely inclusive.
One confidence-building technique which seems to be effective in class is to get pupils of different ages to read in pairs.
It's literacy time, so can you all make sure you've got some reading material? If you've not got anything with you, can you just come and get something from the box, please?
Me is in year 7 and I'm in year 10. We get into pairs of people, someone that's in a higher year and someone in a lower year, and they just take it in turns to read.
Okay, for the reading this morning, so reading with your partners, the book that we've all got this morning.
I like reading more because then if I don't understand what something means, then Kelly can tell me what it does.
Each year the school runs a literacy challenge, a series of themed tasks and lessons. The theme is usually a sporting one because it helps to hook in the boys, often not the most enthusiastic of readers.
You know what you're about to start is our Worneth Summer Challenge, which is to do with the Tour de France this year, OK? So as a form, we need to try and get as many challenges as possible completed. So today what you're going to start on is the challenges you have in front of you. You've chosen the ones that you're interested in, and off you go. The 20 minutes at the beginning of the day can be a very dull period. With these kind of activities that have been thrown into the school now, it makes it a lot more interesting, and children maybe that you saw this morning who wouldn't read an awful lot would get a chance to access some kind of reading materials, even if it's just from the internet or if it's from atlases or any other kind of reading skill that they might need. Maybe you could talk about the fact that you live very close to Worneth Low, and we're right on the edge of Derbyshire, and there's some fantastic cycling paths in this area, aren't there? It's a vertical form, so there's a year 7 right the way through to year 11, and there's a mixed of ability there. So there were some children who were literally non-readers, and then there were some children who were on our gifted and talented list, and the mix within the form and in those kind of activities really can boost and promote the mentoring side of reading skills within a secondary school. So I think it's had a major impact on the way in which the school views reading and the way in which the pupils view reading.
Another idea is to turn the whole school into a giant book club and get pupils, teachers and support staff to talk to each other about what they're reading.
So have you read any other Jacqueline Wilson books?
I'm in the middle of reading autobiography, Jackie Daydream, that she's wrote.
Does that say anything about being in a care home then?
Her mum wasn't very nice to her and things like that. I recommended one to Miss, and I've just told her what I liked about the book, and there's a second book out, so I'm just looking for that.
He just makes loads of mistakes and it's all just being dead bad.
You like quite a cross-section of them, don't you? I will stay away from fancy ones, but you obviously like those better, don't you? And then, but you still read the Da Vinci Code as well?
I've got quite a lot out of it, really, because
it's boosted up like my skills in English, and I feel more confident like talking in front of the class.
Well, I've read a book that I never would have read in a million years, and I really enjoyed it because I always avoid kind of fantasy type books, and yet I've so much enjoyed it that I'm quite happy to read like the next one in that side. So it's just been great, and then it's nice to know that you know, kids are still reading, and that Matthew will read the book that I've asked him to read, etc.
Over the years, I've always been quite shocked about how few kids read. You know, you often ask questions in lessons, you know, who's read this and who's read that, and they haven't. But I've noticed more so now that students are reading far more. Even if it's a magazine, it's still reading. It's still helping them to develop their literacy.
Talking to them about reading is always good, and not to have to sort of not to have to read something with them, but to choose to read something with them I think is very good as well. And I think the extent to which it gives him confidence in things, I think is superb.
The essence of the book club idea is to get staff, pupils and support staff to swap ideas for a good read.
OK, this is what I've got to read next.
You've got to read it backwards, though. Yeah, you've got to read.
Yeah. Why?
Japanese.
Like manga?
Yeah, them type of books go from the back to the front.
SLT support's imperative. You've got to have the support of everybody all the way down, whether it's from the head right down to the cleaners. If everybody doesn't realise that reading is important and that reading can help students to achieve, then you're just not really going to get anywhere. The minute that a member of staff tells a child that, oh, reading's boring, or I hate reading, or reading isn't something good to be done, then they give a negative impression to that student, who might then turn around and go, oh, right, well, if you don't like reading, then I don't either. Again, it's about positive role models. If the role models aren't there, then the students have no one to learn from.
I'm just taking our 3 students to meet their reading champions. Because at break time Sandra and Esther work in the canteen, then they can't come to the library, so we decided to take 5 minutes out just to introduce everybody and so they can talk about the Chris Bradford book.
Right, did you enjoy the book?
Yeah, but I thought it was a bit like Harry Potter.
Oh, I didn't. I've not read any Harry Potter books, but I've read Shogun, which is a grown-up version. It was good. And this is very similar.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy it?
It was probably right near the start where he's just landing quietly about his parents.
When he's on the ship and everything. Yeah, I like that.
Reading is prioritised at the school even before pupils join. Year 6 pupils from feeder schools are asked to complete a questionnaire on their reading habits.
Next thing we were going to look at was choosing the children for the mentoring programme.
Yes.
Now you've had a fair idea and you've picked out here their questionnaires, haven't you?
Yes.
So we could do with really looking at what they've said.
See, he's told us he doesn't like reading at all. He's told us there's a 7 on his reading. Says it's boring.
And he
can't remember the last book he read.
So I imagine he's not enjoying it because he's not succeeding at it. So we need to pair him with somebody who can choose the right books, who can take him on in small steps and encourage a love of reading. But we need somebody we need a good mentor for this one. We need a good someone who's really encouraging.
We've done it in 3 years, so it's not something that has to be a 10-year plan. I would say you've probably seen through Drop Everything and Read. Our kids enjoy it. Even when they're on PE, they'll sit down and actually enjoy their reading, and they know well in advance that it's coming up. And whilst they don't all prepare, and they don't all bring a book, more and more and more as we roll the programme forward are actually bringing in interesting things that they actually want to read.
Books and magazines away, please. Time to go. Can you pack away your resources, tuck your chairs under, and computer people, can you log off now, please? Have a good weekend.